Hey guys, welcome to the next episode of Zero to a Million. Don't know what day it is. My days are all blurred. In today's video, I've got a interview with Hippie Billionaire. So that's what the brand is about. A really good friend of mine, Ceri, and he is going to talk about some of his successes. I think he retired at like 43 and then started DJing because that's his true passion. So today we've got a interview with him, and he's just going to take me through the process of what he thinks about the challenge, his ideas. It's always good to get an outside perspective from someone that's done something on a higher level than what you are currently doing. So obviously they've done business on a much higher level than what I'm exposed to. So just getting some insights from someone that is truly successful. So stay tuned for the interview today with Ceri. Going to be absolutely amazing. Hippie Billionaire. So him and his life partner Beatrix is traveling around Thailand at the moment. So we're going to catch up with them in Thailand to do the interview today. So guys, everyone tuning into this video, this is Ceri, very good friend of mine, also known as the Billionaire Hippie. So he travels around the world. They rent out their place. Him and his life partner, Beatrix, also such an amazing soul. So Ceri, thanks for joining us on this call. And I think I've told you a bit about the 90-day program that I'm doing. I don't know if you know much about it. So it's about generating $1 million in 90 days from a brand new product or service. And yeah, just catching up and see maybe what ideas you have firstly. I had a whole bunch of ideas, and when I started working it out, I realized, yeah, it's not going to work.
So what are the rules?
Can't use any of my existing income towards that. So I can't, for example, the workshops and stuff that we already do, I can't calculate that towards the million. It has to be from new workshops if I do workshops. I can't use any of my own money, no resources, no teams, anything like that. And then working 3 hours a day. So I have to build our team to do it. So it's kind of simulating you starting off scratch. And I'm starting a new business. So it can be using my existing skill sets. So two or three of the big things that I just want to showcase is the process of doing it in a couple of hours a day. The other one is how important your network is. Yeah, just showing the power of network, and then showing how important it is to have people like you in your life that you can actually have a phone call with and say, hey, but this is what I'm doing. What ideas do you have? What's some of the ideas you have? How can we partner on this? So yeah, that's basically the rule. So I can run events, etc. I just can't use the existing events that we're currently doing towards that. So one of the ideas, for example, was a big music festival. Let's run a big music festival, get some investors in, get sponsors like Heineken and My Way and whoever else in, see if we can arrange some sponsors, and then run a big music event. So that was one of the big reasons for connecting with you, is to see if you think something like that could generate a couple of million in profit. I know nothing about running an event, so that's been a bit of my hesitation. Other things that I've been looking at is high-end entrepreneurial retreat. That's also an option. I've also been looking at maybe doing something in the US, because for example, we've got a couple of options: 100 tickets at 10,000 Rand, 1,000 tickets at $1,000, or 10 people at 100,000. But at 100,000, it starts reaching the end of my connections. Where if you do it in the US, $5,000, it's not a big deal. So running maybe some sort of retreat or safari to South Africa. The other thing I thought about is bringing a big international speaker into South Africa and running one big event, and then selling stalls at the back of the event, charging speakers almost like that Success Resources, where they charge the speakers like 50K and then take a cut of the commission, something like that. So that's also an option. So that's kind of the things that I've been playing around with. And then I've been reaching out to a couple of people from investment perspective. So I've got 2 or 3 guys that's keen. I need to send them a contract. So offering a really high return on investment,
so like a 40% return on investment. And then they fund, so the first 4 people would get that 100,000 Rand that they invest, and they get a 40% return on investment in 90 days, which is, I mean, you're not going to get it anywhere else. And I'll personally guarantee the 100,000 Rand out of my personal stuff. So I'll sign surety for it. So when those funds are raised, I've got 400,000 Rand to kind of kick it off with. One of the things I even thought about is buying a plane ticket, going over to Florida, because I've got quite a few connections in Florida, and seeing what we can do in that regard. Someone else that's come into my life a while ago, a couple of months ago, that I'm really connected with is Tanya West from Dancing for Rhinos. Just her dedication for this, and so it's a non-profit. So just want to see what I can do in that regard. So offering maybe some sort of safari, because I know they've got like go play with the baby rhinos, and getting US based guys over, because from Florida it's only like a 16-hour flight to South Africa, and it's direct flights. So it will make it a bit easier than selling in LA, or because I've got quite a lot of connections in LA as well. And for them to fly from there to another place, and then to Europe, and from Europe to South Africa, it's going to be a bit of a, people that I spoke to, they said, we're just not going to fly 30, 40 hours to get to South Africa. So in a nutshell, this option.
So I like it. I think just the one question I have, and it's around kind of being authentic to the whole thing, is, you know, when you talk about not leveraging anything that you've already got, be it existing funds, existing networks, all those sorts of things, right? Like, where do you draw the line? So, for example, if a person was going to start a brand new business and raise $1 million over 90 days, or generate R1 million in 90 days, and I know a big part of this is not like creating paper value, it's got to be real, tangible money in your bank, in your hand. Okay, so I'll get that. What's the defining line? Because you could quite easily argue and say, yeah, well, someone like you or I could do that because we are able to fund our lifestyle and start a zero business, right? Whereas someone else, maybe on the street, or maybe someone who's working for a really small salary, and they've got these big overheads and they're heavily in debt, like, could they do this? So have you kind of got some thoughts around that, and how you've drawn a line to say what kind of constitutes inclusive and exclusivity around this?
Yeah, so this whole thing is actually a personal challenge. It's actually got nothing to do with anyone else. It was something that I wanted to do to shift myself in my comfort zone. So I wanted to create, even if it was in the same business, just additional income stream, not calculating my existing money to the thing. That's actually the main thing, is that I want to calculate my existing money to the $1 million. And I watched Undercover Billionaire, and I was like, that's really cool. I wonder if I can do something similar. So it's for me to come up with something similar to that, where I take a new product or a new event or a new whatever, and then generate the
okay. So that's cool. So that answers that for me, because I think it's like, you might not use money you've already got, but you can use your existing networks. And the fact that you've already made it so far is not something that you can't leverage, but it has to be something brand new. Okay, cool. So
I can use my mindset, my networks, the people that I know. I just can't use my team or my money. That's actually the two main things.
So if you took something like an investment strategy, like you've just suggested now, the 100,000 Rand at a 40% return over 90 days, I mean, quite honestly, if you could, I mean, outside of what the business model is, I mean, the business model in itself is, if you could make let's say you could make a 41% profit on R1 million investment, you could pay 40% back to people, and you'd have 1%, right? If you said, okay, no, but you still got to have a net figure of R1 million, then it would need to be like, just help me with the maths here. You'd have to double your money, right? So you'd have to raise R1 million in investment. So you'd need like 100, you'd need 1.4 million and some change, right? So you give the 400,000 Rand back on them, no, but then you'd be back at zero.
So you need about probably 3.2 million.
Okay.
Roughly.
So what kind of return on investment is that as a total ROI? That's like a 3x.
Yeah, so if you take it over a 12-month period, it's probably 160% return over a 12-month period. But being over the 90 days, I'll give them 40%. Plus, I have to give their 100,000 rand back as well.
Correct. But I'm saying you could go for the full million. You could say, listen, give me $1 million. Get 10 people to put 100,000 in. You've got your million, and you just have to then generate anything in excess of that million, pay that back, and there's your business. Right. It's almost like a bit of a pyramid scheme, but provided it's underwritten and it's guaranteed. And everybody's exactly. So that's the one. I like that. I do like the investment thing. I think the second thing that you raised around events, I think events can definitely work provided a couple of things are factored in. One is timing. So you give yourself sufficient time. Strong marketing, which obviously you have a very good background in. Networks. And then obviously the right partners and the right type of event. I mean, yes, we can all launch a nice big. The reason I came to Thailand was to play at the Tanta One Festival. And it was an amazing event. Damien did such a good job with it. And interestingly enough, him and I are having conversations about rolling the brand out globally and starting, well, probably the next location will be SA, because he's ex-South African as well. So we could do one of those. That's quite easy. But I think what would be even better would be to raise the bar and say, well, let's do something that's a little bit more conscious than just a party. So maybe it's a spiritual retreat with a bit of entertainment, with conscious dance, with all these alternative healing methodologies like yoga and breath work and meditation, and you know what I mean. And then lay on top of that, you've got these world-renowned speakers and all those sorts of things. Because now there's a ton of value, and you could probably sell, or you could acquire funding for investment, and you could probably quite easily work out who your top 10 sponsors are. And if the sponsors cover the cost and all it is for them is a marketing cost, even if they don't make a cent profit on the ticket sales and the return on the project, they've still gotten value, provided you've got the right audience there, you've got the right participants, and there's alignment. So I think the event option is a good one.
I also keep coming back to the event. So I thought about, because there's quite a few things that I've came up with to make $1 million ideas. I think what's important for me as well is not just to do this for the sake of money. That's not why I did the challenge privately. I still want to help people. It still needs to align with my values and where I'm going and the longer term vision of what I want to achieve with the business. So that's my biggest conflict, is what's the line that I cross with having an event versus doing something stupid just for the sake of money, because that's not what this is about. It still needs to align with the values and making impact in entrepreneurs' lives and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I think
the retreat sort of thing.
I think first and foremost, you got to maybe get out of your own way and out of your own head. I think the idea of just making the money is good in itself, because it's meeting the objective to say, hey, whatever I do, I mean, outside of selling drugs and doing dodgy stuff, but like if you say, look, my objective was to raise R1 million in 90 days and show you it's doable. It's not about making money. It's about meeting the objective. Okay, that's the first thing. So get out of your own way there. Second thing is, I think in terms of what you do, yes, the more authentic, the more beneficial, the more you can help people, great. So I think then you can bring that back in. But it mustn't be this, I can't launch an event, or I can't do this thing because it's just going to be about the money. It's obviously always going to be about the money, because even though money is the byproduct, at the end of the day, we all need money to survive.
Correct.
So Eugene, I just think on the eventing. No, actually, I want to go back and ask you a question. Just remind me what your values are. So travel, education.
Yeah, learning and teaching, wealth creation, adventure and travel, connections, relationships.
Well, that retreat covers all that. I mean, travel, like it depends where you want to. So either you're traveling, or you're getting other people to travel, or both. Okay, so depending where you want to have it. Like let's have the festival in Thailand, for example. You know what I mean? It's a 24-hour. It's 24 hours of travel, but it's one of the most beautiful places to do something like this. And a lot of this stuff already exists. So that's the one thing. Education, well, you're going to be imparting knowledge through all the facilitators. Connection, everybody that's there is going to be connecting. What else was there? Connection, education. Yeah, right. There we go. So that's easy. An event dresses that, I think.
Yeah. Also keep coming back to the event stuff. It energizes. So if you look at the ikigai, what's your passion? What's your skill set? Where's the market for? What can you get paid for? My passions, entrepreneurships and travel and retreats and events, and that's what I want to do. I travel extensively. I go on learning. I spend a huge amount of money educating myself from other people, and it keeps coming back to doing something in that space.
Eugene,
So
let me give
thanks
let me
for
give
the.
an let me give an example of something, and it's like it's actually so scary how simple it is. Like
Yeah.
outside of the fact that I'd have to work out how to be able to stay in Thailand indefinitely. Okay. And Beatrix and myself think we found a hack, but we're going to investigate it. But outside of that, it's this simple. I've come to Thailand to play a festival. I've met a whole bunch of people. This place is friendly. It's safe. It's relatively cheap. So value for money. In addition to that, just through networking and people finding out I'm a DJ, I can literally, I've already played at another venue. I've already run my radio show from another venue. So that's 2 extra ones. I reached out, a friend of mine that I met, well, somebody I met at the festival gave me another guy's name and number in Pi. And he then messaged me a few days later to say, have you contacted this guy? And truthfully, I'd actually forgotten. Then I messaged this guy. He's like, hey, dude, thank you. You're a DJ. What's the story? How did you get my details? I told him. He's like, cool. It sounds like he's going to have me on a lineup tomorrow night at a big event. Okay.
Yeah.
So honestly, if I really wanted to, and I said this to Beatrix, I could say I'm done and I just want to travel the whole of Southeast Asia and I just want to play music for people. And the people get paid well here to DJ. And the other crazy thing is it's like the music world. Like artists never really become big in their own country. Like look at our South African musicians. They don't make it in South Africa, but when they go to US, they become famous. I'm trying to crack it in South Africa as a DJ. I come to Thailand, people love me. They want to set me up on lineups. So you know what I mean? It's so when I say it's simple, it's okay to just follow the passion and do what you want to do. It's like society and the systems we live in say, no, you mustn't do that. You must go get a job. You like have kids and put them through the school system and no one's going, listen, follow your passion and live the perfect life. You only have 60 or 70 or 80 years on the planet. You know, give it your all.
Yeah. So, Ceri, before we go on, just for those guys that don't know you, tell us about your Billionaire Hippie brand that you're launching and tell us a bit about that.
So it's well, first and foremost, I owe the idea to you. So we Beatrice and myself are we termed ourselves as digital nomads and adventure buddies. So I decided a long time ago that I don't want to be tied down to one place working. Also, thanks to COVID, I realized, for many years, people would say, "What do you do?" And I said, "I'm in digital marketing," and they go, "Wow, that's wonderful! You can do that from anywhere." And I'd be like, in my head, if only I knew how, because we'd have these big fancy offices and a big training studio. And I was like, how do I leave that behind and go and run my office from somewhere else? Then thankfully COVID happened. And just weeks before, I'd taken all my flat screens home and I'd taken all my computers home and everything. And when it all happened, we were still able to have meetings because I'd set up the technology at home. And then I very quickly realized that you can actually run your business from anywhere because you don't, like we're doing now, you don't have to be physically sitting in front of somebody to have a meeting. You can be remote. Some people still want the energy and some people still want you physically there, and I get that. But for that, you hop on a plane and you travel. And if it's viable enough a project, then you go, the person will pay you to come see them or vice versa. So for me, it then became this realization very quickly that I wanted to be able to travel. I wanted to be borderless, and I wanted to be able to continue to run my businesses and earn income irrespective of where in the world I am. And just on that, I'll tell you an interesting thing about Thailand that I realized. I actually realized it on the plane. And then I've realized it in real terms here. And it was like this realization when we left South Africa, we were sitting with a friend the night before in a very fancy property. And we we're talking about going off to Thailand and coming back and doing some great business things. And I'll talk to you once we've had those meetings, I'll loop you in because I think this would also link into what we're talking about. And we're on the plane and I'm watching the time change. And I realized that I'd actually time traveled. I'd moved 6 hours into the future in a matter of hours, okay? And now I literally, like it's Friday morning. Well, it's now Friday 1 o'clock here. What's the time there?
8 o'clock.
There we go. So I wake up this morning. I do 2 hours of work. I'm already ahead. I'm 8 hours ahead of South Africa. So stuff I needed to do, I've done. I've sent it off this morning. I smash it out whatever time, like call it 10 o'clock this morning, 10 till 12 done. Now people are waking up in South Africa and they've got instructions from me. No longer is there requests from them to me. So I'm now actually living in the future in terms of South Africa. That's become like a realization. I did my radio show last night and we're in South Africa. My show is from 9 till 12 and I would scramble on a Thursday to be in time to be able to do my show. Now I've got the whole day. I go out and I have do whatever I need to do, travel, visit, have something to eat, get to wherever I'm going, build my whole show, and then I upload it. And 2 hours before the show, I'm sorted. Okay. And like I'm then listening to the show at 2 o'clock here in the morning, and it's 9 o'clock there. And people are like commenting, and it's like such a crazy dynamic. And the only thing I haven't worked out is how it's gonna feel when I travel back in time, back to like South African time, and how I'm gonna lose that out. So there's that, and I guess we love diving. So we were fortunate enough that we spent 25 days in Mozambique in Kinjata Bay before we came to Thailand. We did some. I think I probably, between Beatrix and myself, we probably certified maybe over 35 people, from discover scuba divers to open waters to advanced, refreshers, people that hadn't dived in a while. And it was just amazing. And I was re-engaged with the fact that not only do I love diving, but like you love teaching people to market and get results out of their business. I love teaching people to overcome their fears around the ocean, and to take them from someone who's terrified to then turning them into a certified diver who then walks away, shakes my hand and says, thank you so much. And they've got a gift for life. So we just love being able to travel, going to beautiful places. I've always had this hashtag, which is follow the sun. Why spend time in cold, dreary places when you can be in warm beaches and drinking cocktails and martinis and and having these beautiful sunsets.
So I also don't think that a lot of people know the level of success that you've achieved in your life, and because you're so humble and you played dance so much.
Thank you.
Guys, those who's watching this is like super successful, not average successful, like really successful. He retired many, many years ago, and now he travels the world and dive and plays music and stuff like that. Follows his passion completely. So, Ceri, just one question.
Sure.
What do you think is one of the biggest differentiating factors between people who end up becoming super successful and those who kind of plateau and just stay one-man show for the next 10 years of their life?
BS. Yeah, your belief system.
Yeah.
So if you believe, if you believe the stories that the media tells you, the stories that society tells you, if you believe that you have to go to school and get a job, I think it's important to get a matric. If you can get some kind of degree behind you to fall back on, there's no harm in that. And I think it's the same with your kids. Get your kids educated, but don't make the mistake of falling into the system and staying in the system. The educational system is archaic. It's designed. It's still from the Industrial Revolution, and it's designed. You look at anything. When I was at school, you learned accounting, you learned history, you learned geography. These are all things that are designed to teach you to become the perfect employee. Yeah. Never in school do they teach you how to launch a business, how to generate and manage your own income. They teach you as an accountant. They teach you how to manage other people's money, not your own. They don't teach you to think about hiring people. Listen to Robert Kiyosaki. What does he say? And Richard Branson. Robert Kiyosaki, Richard Branson, they say C students at school. So C grade students hire A grade students. Okay. Yeah. So get the best accountants, get the best lawyers, get the best doctors. But you yourself don't need to know how to do that. Come up with great business ideas. And trust that you can implement. And another thing is, like, don't get tied into the zombie box. Watching Netflix and documentaries are great, and educate yourself and read, but don't get stuck into this 9 to 5, go to work, come home, kind of brain drain behind the TV, go off to bed and start all over again. Use time to educate yourself, get clear on what it is you want. And I think a vision board, it was actually amazing. Last night, a friend of mine messaged me. You actually probably know her through our network. And she's like, hey, are you guys still in Thailand? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, geez, I'm so jealous. That's so amazing. She's like, you guys are definitely living the perfect life. So I replied to her and I said, well, anyone can do this. And she's like, yeah, easier said than done. So I said to her, well, you can do this. So she goes, how? I said, well, do you have a vision? Do you have a clear vision for your life? So she goes, no, not yet. So I said, well, when you've got that, contact me again. And it was just like that realization that people have this idea in their minds that only certain people can do it. All you have to do is just get clear on what you want your life to look like. Because when you're clear, when you wake up, that's what your life's going to look like.
Yeah, for sure. It's almost like that story about IBM that they're talking about in E-Myth. Before he even started his business, he knew exactly what it was, what it's going to look like, what the people are going to look like. And that plays back to something. I was on a workshop with Kelly, and so I've had a meeting with Kelly as well. We had to draw out our vision board, not go find pictures and stick it. We had to physically sit there for like 3-4 hours and draw out your exact vision board. She took us through this meditation, etc., etc. And all of it, barring one, which is a house overlooking the redwood forest in Northern California. I mean, everything else has materialized. And without me having actual steps like how to do it, just by keeping that picture in my head and working towards that, it kind of showed up. I can't explain it. You've done it a lot more than me, so you can probably explain a bit better. So, Ceri, just coming back to the 90-day program, what do you think would be one or two things that I need to be aware of, or not from a fear perspective, from a motivational perspective or positive perspective? What would be like one or two key success factors for me for this 90-day challenge?
So I think what's important is that, like I said earlier, get out of your own way. So I wanted to very clearly define what the rules are and where the allowances are, so that you don't one trip yourself up and people later on say, oh, but you used your networks, or oh, but you. So if you've clearly defined what the framework is and what you're allowed to use and what you're not allowed to use, that's perfect. The second thing is, I think also, again, repeating on what we touched on earlier, is don't, get out of your own way in terms of like, oh, it can't just be about the money. Freaking hell, man, make it about the money. It doesn't have to be primarily about the money, but how are you going to show success, and how are you going to measure success? You're going to be like, hey, listen, we ran this great event. We had 1,000 people there, 100,000 people there, but we made no money. No. So we had I spoke to one person. I raised R1 million. I paid the person back 400,000 Rand, and I kept the R1 million. Like, it's not an exciting story, but you made your R1 million, which is the better version. So I think that's an important thing. And then I think anything's an opportunity. So whether it's an event, whether it's an investment scheme, whether it's an investment scheme for an event, I think if I was going to do anything, I would challenge you to think out of the box and not do anything you've done before. So don't run the workshops that you're doing, because you can do that. You can just keep doing that anyway. You've got that business ticking over. You can do a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal. Like, write it down. Like, again, like you said earlier, don't worry about the how, because the how will be defined. It's like if I said to you, oh, I want to DJ for the next 3 months in Thailand. Like, I don't know which festivals I'm going to play at. I don't know what music I'm going to play. All I know is intentionally, when I want that, I'll start meeting people. People will be like, oh, you're a DJ. I've got a slot here. Can you play that? And I'll just make myself available. So in the same way, get clear on the what. The how will show up. The how will present itself.
Yeah. Awesome. Ceri, I need to head off. We at Friday Club need to go in for our meeting now.
Nice.
Super, thanks for catching up with me. When are you guys back?
We land back on the 31st of January.
Yeah,
and
so
then,
let me know when you're back. And
are you
then...
are you just remind me, you're a certified diver, eh?
No.
Okay, so here's an opportunity. Okay, if you're interested, so we are running a 2-day open water course, let's call it, at Miracle Waters. The reason we're doing that is we've got a few students left over from Mozambique that didn't finish. So, and most of them are Joburg and Pretoria based. So we gave them the opportunity to join us. I think it's the 3rd and the 4th of February. So if you're interested, I can send you some information offline.
Yeah.
You can do the theory in 2 minutes, and we can get you certified on the day. And then you and I can arrange a trip to go to the ocean and dive in the big blue.
Yeah. And brainstorm ideas after an amazing dive trip.
Exactly. Thank you, Eugene. So lovely connecting, man.
Great seeing you again. And send me some more pics of the Thailand retreat. Loving all the gear and getting into the vibes. And very cool.
Well, I'm going to take a walk through the Pie Streets just now, and I'll send you a little walking video, and you can have it.
Yeah. And maybe just send some links where people can follow your travels and adventures and stuff. Then we'll post in the comments of the video.
Amazing. One last thing, if I can. I know you've been banging on for a while about how reels are powerful. I did a very simple reel. It was a few minutes. At the monastery, just like literally as I was leaving, or just before I left. And this thing, like 3 hashtags. my personal page, 695 plays, and I think eight or nine comments. And I was
On
like,
your
wow,
first
I didn't
reel?
even know I had comments on my personal first reel, just talking about being at a spiritual retreat. So just for your listeners, it's something I'm definitely going to put a lot more effort into.
Yeah. One reel a day, you'll be amazed what happens to your brain.
Nice. All the best, man.
Chat soon.
Speak soon.
Thanks
Ciao.
for the call. Bye.